Hi everyone, I'm back, and this time I wanted to share with you a project that I'm going to make using these little tin boxes that I got from Beebeecraft. If you saw my earlier video, I showed you the product that I got from them, and this is the product code, but I'll leave a link in the description box below for this product if you're interested in getting these tins. You'll get 12 of them in the pack, and they measure approximately 2.5 inches across by 3.5 inches that way, and about 3/4 of an inch thick. And so what I have in mind to make with this little box required me to have a hole in the end of the tin. So as you can see there, I have already drilled a little hole. I have a little Tim Holtz drill, and it's a little manual crank thing that you can use, and it will go through metal. So I've already put the hole in there, and so I wanted to go ahead and do that little step ahead of time because you didn't need to necessarily watch me drill a little hole. So I have a sanding block here, and I've just put down a paper towel, and I'm going to rough up the finish of this because it does have a really nice smooth finish on it, but I wanted to make it just a little bit rougher, just in case we need the paint or paper or whatever I decide to do with it. We want to make sure it sticks. So I'm going to just speed this up. Okay, I'm back, and I've don't know if you can see the the scratch marks from the sanding pad, but I've just gone over it lightly and just kind of roughed it up a little bit. So all finished with that. Let's get rid of this. Okay, I'm going to put down my little protective mat here so that I don't get paint all over the place. So I'm going to do a little bit of painting on this box. So I've got a little palette here, and I'm going to put just some craft black paint in here, and we're going to do just a little bit of painting. And I've got I have a little container here with water in it for putting my paintbrushes in. So what I'm going to do first is just go around the corners of this box with a little bit of black paint. It doesn't have to be neat at all. It's not going to show really, not much of it. So I'm just going to speed this time up, and we'll get through this pretty quick. This is a little crafting heater. It's like a little blow dryer, but it gets extremely hot. And as a matter of fact, this tin will get really hot if you're going to use this heat gun to dry your paint. So just be very careful when you're going to pick this up, because it does heat that metal up, and it will be pretty hot. So it is still pretty warm, but it's not so hot that it's going to burn me. So I can flip it over and do the other side. Okay, so I'm going to flip this back over, and now we're going to use the contrasting color. So I'm going to do, I'm going to mix a white acrylic paint with a little bit of brown, just to give it just a little bit of color. one little drop. We'll try that first and see what that looks like. I think that's perfect. Just want it to be a little bit of an antiqued white color. Okay, now I'm going to switch to a larger brush, and I'm going to paint the larger sections of the box with this color. So the reason you're probably wondering why I left all this black around there and not very neat is because we're going to cover most of it up anyway. So I'm going to start kind of in the middle and then just kind of sweep out to the edges and kind of almost cover it up, but just leaving some of that black showing there on the edges. And then it will end up giving you a kind of an aged looking box. Okay, see how that looks? So it kind of looks like an old rusty looking box, like the edges are starting to rust. So that's the look we're going for. Make sure that's dry before I flip it over. Okay, let's do this top side. Okay, so now we have the top and the bottom done, and I'll continue and do all around the sides. Okay, we're all finished painting, I believe. Still a little bit hot, so I will leave that for just a bit, and I'm going to pick out some papers that I want to line the inside of the box with, so I'll be right back. Okay, I have already decided on the papers that I want to use inside of this little tin, so I've already I kind of tore them down to size, and they will go in there like that. But before I put them in, I wanted to distress the edges with my distress ink here. So just go around the edges like that. But before I put those papers in, I want to use some cheesecloth, I think, inside too. So I'm going to just cut some pieces of cheesecloth and put in there. I'm going to use some Mod Podge to glue that in, so let me get that. Okay, I've got all the paper on the inside now, so I've used the Mod Podge and glued the paper inside, and so we'll move on now to the outside of the box. So what I have planned for the outside is, I don't really know. I'm going to just kind of go for it. I have some ideas, so hopefully you'll just follow along with me and it will all begin to make some sense. These are the spacer beads that I ordered from Beebeecraft. They are the 2mm size and they come in all 5 colors. I will leave the product code in the description box below. If you're interested in ordering these, you can go directly to their website and get them there. So I just wanted to include that little clip there in case you missed it from the earlier video. I think I'm going to use the spacer beads and make some flowers, and I've already started on them, so I'm using the antique silver beads. And so what I've done is I've made some little petals out of the beads. I've just strung them on this tiny, it's like a copper color wire, and it's a real, I don't know the gauge of it. It was just something that I had already, and it will bend and keep its shape, but it's very easy to bend, and it's also small enough to go through the 2mm hole on those 2mm beads. I mean, so I wished I knew the gauge so I could tell you, but I just don't know. And I bought this, I think, years ago. So as you can see, I've already made 4 of the smaller leaves, and I've made 4 of the larger ones, and I'm going to make 1 more of the larger beads. So I'm just going to dump out some beads here and string them, and then we'll put this flower together. Okay, I've got the last petal made there, so I'll just put all of these little spacer beads back in the container. Okay, I just took the 4 smaller petals and just twisted the wires together, and by doing that, you know, it will allow me to bend the petals down and put them wherever I want them to go. So now I'm going to just add the larger petals on the outside. There we go. Very pretty little flower. Okay, and then for the center of this flower, I picked out a bead. It's a silver, metal silver bead, and I think I'm going to put that right in the center. And I think I will wire it on. So let me get another piece of wire. Okay, there we go. I think that turned out really pretty. And of course, you know, you could make these in any color that you want, because we have so many different colors in those spacer beads, and I use the antique silver one to make this flower. So, okay, now that we have the flower finished, the little spacer bead flower all finished, I'm going to move on, and we're going to finish the top of this. So I think what I want to do is to add some cheesecloth on the top. So I'm just going to use some fabric tack and put that on. Okay, and then I have cut out some pieces of a lace trim that I had, and I've just snipped off a few of the leaves. So I think I'm going to put these leaves on like that, maybe. Not quite sure. And then I also have a little cherub that I'm going to put on here. I know it looks like he has a broken leg, but he really doesn't. It's just, that's maybe it was broken, but when I got it as a gift from someone, and it came that way, so we'll cover that up anyway. It won't look like he has a broken leg. And then I think I'm going to add a couple of paper flowers here, and then our star flower. Our flower that is the star of the show will go right there. And anyway, let's get those things in place and take it from there. I'm not quite sure about this leaf. Okay, I'm back, and I did change that leaf. I'm going to keep this one, but I took that big one off, and I'm going to replace it with 2 smaller leaves that I found in my stash of lace bits. So we're going to put that on there instead. Okay, so let me put those in place. Okay, I had to turn on my glue gun in order to get the cherub to stay put, so I think it's ready to go now. That looks pretty good. Now I have I put some of the spacer beads on. These are flathead pins, and I thought I would tuck those in wherever I can. I don't know if I want them up there or if I want them down here. I think they'd be better up there. I'm going to cut part of this off because it's way too long. Let's see if I can tuck them in there. How's that look? I think it's pretty nice. Let's make sure, yeah, they're not in the way of anything when the door opens and closes. And yeah, I think I will glue those in place right there. The only other thing I have left to do, I'd like to add a little embellishment right there on the center of that flower. And then next we have to address this hole that we have at the bottom. Okay, I went ahead and finished this tin off camera because I didn't think that you needed to see me do that. If you remember in the earlier part of the video, there was a hole that I had drilled in the bottom of the tin. And so what I did was I used one of the Tim Holtz. It's like a brad that has a metal ring on it. And so I just inserted that into that little hole. And then put some beads together and a little bow and put it on a lobster clasp and hung that, you know, from the brad. But the main focus was on the spacer beads that I've used on the front of this tin. If you remember, I created the little flower out of the spacer beads and these little sprigs that I made out of flathead pins and spacer beads. So as you can see, there's other ways of using spacer beads other than just on, you know, jewelry pieces. So I had fun making those couple of things, and I hope you enjoyed seeing that tutorial. I have one more tin that I altered, or that I did off camera too, and it's this one. And I altered the tin the same way as I did this one, only the only difference is I added a little bit of a green color paint to the back of this tin and on the sides too, but just to add a little bit of color. But other than that, it's done exactly the same way. And then on the front, I've used needle and thread and just threaded the spacer beads onto the thread and then just laid them in place and glued them there. And this was a metal scroll piece that I already had in my stash. So I've just laid them on there and glued them down. And then I did the same thing with the gold beads that you see there. They were done with just a needle and thread and just laying it on there. And then I made a little tassel out of the spacer beads and put it all together under a bead cap. And then to finish it off, there is the gold rhinestone chain that's going all the way around the top edge of the box. So that completes the 2 little boxes that I made using spacer beads. So I hope you enjoyed seeing the tutorial on this one, and I want to say thank you to Beebeecrafts for allowing me to review some of their products. I enjoyed working with the things that I had. Please go by and visit their website. So thank you again for watching, everyone. Take care. Bye.